This is episode number 5, our unhealthy gym addiction. Hello everybody and welcome back to a couple of dumbbells. My name is Erik Braun, a certified athletic trainer helping you to prevent, diagnose, treat, rehab, and educate yourself on a variety of orthopedic and general health conditions. Right now in this current time, COVID-19 is still a prominent aspect of everyday life. We are all struggling very deeply with everything that COVID-19 has brought, including the biological and the health factors of staying safe and healthy, as well as the policy and the economic disruptions that the pandemic has brought. And everybody in this point in time is struggling, and there's any number of things to talk about and analyze when it comes to that. But one thing I want to focus on right now is our unhealthy gym addiction and how that relates to COVID-19 and sort of gyms shutting down. So what do I mean when I talk about an unhealthy gym addiction? Well, an unhealthy gym addiction in this sense is our mutually exclusive consideration when it comes to, in order to be healthy, I need to be in the gym. I need to be in the weight room. And that is 100% false. You do not need the gym to be healthy. And I think that mindset, that sort of ideology, is an excellent marketing tool that gyms and health and wellness organizations have used to get you to pay for the membership or to get you to pay for the training that they want to sell you. And don't get me wrong, they're great training programs and you're going to see excellent results from participating in them. However, they have really cornered the market when it comes to, hey, if you want to get healthy, if you want to lose that weight, or you want to put on that muscle, you got to come work out with me in my gym and do my stuff and use my equipment, and you got to pay this money and follow this mindset. That is the excellent kind of marketing ploy they have introduced in order to get you to buy their product. So, and this is coming from somebody who is also a fitness consumer who pays for a gym membership, at least pre-COVID. Obviously I am subscribing to the idea that yes, weights and being in the weight room are an excellent thing. I'm not debating this. What I am debating is that you need that in order to be healthy and in order to succeed and excel in your fitness goals and function. This attitude of need that gyms are the only thing that's going to get you healthy is so prominent in everyday life that people are actually protesting to reopen prior to any indication from health experts or public health officials to get there or to reopen anything. The numbers aren't supporting it. COVID-19 infections nationally are higher than they were back in April when there was a large amount of shutdown orders. And there is still no vaccine or cure or a lot of data other than wear a mask and socially distance. And, I think this really, for me, was very pointed when I saw this video of a group of people who were protesting. I want to say it was in Michigan, regardless, but it was a video protesting for the reopening of gyms. And during their demonstration, these people were actually doing push-ups and squats to show their need for gyms to reopen and be healthy. And I looked at that and I'm like, you are actively petitioning for the message that you don't need a gym to perform exercise. You don't need any of that to stay healthy. You can do your push-ups and sit-ups and walk around and march around all day, and that's a great workout. And hey, even if you're carrying a sign, could be a lightweight sign poster board, but you're raising that above your head, you're doing all this movement, you are telling that government official or that state or whoever's watching that, hey, I'm getting great exercise right now and I'm not even in a gym. So I know my board says to reopen. I know I'm saying to reopen, but look at me, I'm moving around doing all this stuff. And that's more of a message thing. But my point is they're proving that gyms and health and wellness companies have successfully marketed that we need them. And I'm here telling you that we don't need them. And the people that are saying that they need to reopen, they usually fall in line with one of these three arguments, at least in my experience from what I've seen. So I want to address them one-on-one. And the first one I've seen is that people in the gym are healthy. Every person in this gym, they say that everybody who steps in there is a healthy person. And one thing I will say to that argument is that it is true. when you step into a gym or a health and wellness office or anything, the people that are in there have made the conscious decision to take their health and wellness and make it a priority in their life. And the people that stay and continue more than likely are going to be healthy. So the population of healthy people by government, ACSM, whatever standard, is going to be higher in a gym versus if you walk into a everyday normal business. That's just bias right there. That is confirmation bias, or your blinders, where the population that you spend the most time with is the population that you think is most people. And that's just inherently false. Even in the gym, there can be people who are quote unquote unhealthy. And that could be a very broad spectrum of unhealthy. There's any number of things that can make us healthy or unhealthy. But the one that is most prominent to the COVID-19 infection is that there could be somebody who maybe it is their first steps on their fitness journey, and they could be unhealthy in the sense of when it comes to a BMI, or it could be unhealthy in the sense that they are not used to endurance types of activities and getting their heart rates up. And studies have shown, and I think recent history has shown, that people who have a sedentary lifestyle or who have been inactive for a while have worse outcomes versus people who have been working out or focused on fitness for a longer period of time. Even so, let's say I have somebody who, it could be a marathon runner. They could have an underlying condition or a history that has caused them to be immunocompromised, or somebody at home who could be elderly, immunocompromised, or with a pre-existing condition. There's lots of what ifs. There's lots of different sort of viewpoints that come when you talk about reopening a gym, and your argument is people in the gym are healthy. Sure, there are going to be more healthy people in the gym, but there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to people in the gym. And when there remains a large percentage of what ifs, even around, let's say 25% of people are a what if when it comes to underlying conditions and potentially unhealthy, that is, you're talking a high amount of people. If you get 1,000 people in a gym in any given day and you have 25% of them are a what if, that's 250 people that risk a potential exposure or being unhealthy. And that's not even to say that healthy people can't be infected with COVID-19. So it's a very large risk for gyms to have to accept when it comes to reopening, if they're operating under the argument that everybody that steps in there is healthy. It's hard to control, it's hard to understand. The second one, kind of falling in line with healthy people, is that engaging in exercise fights COVID-19. And in my opinion, this falls under the generalization that exercise helps to build immune function and overall will make somebody healthier. And while there's certainly credence to that statement, and there's certainly science to back that up, you are making a broad generalization based on a lack of evidence. And the fact of the matter is, science has not proven that exercise is a great defense mechanism against the COVID-19 virus specifically. Now, you want to broaden that out to viruses in general and fighting off pathogens and everything like that. Sure, that's a broader discussion. But when we get down to the nitty-gritty and the specifics, we're not sure that COVID-19 is fought off by exercise. And I think there's enough danger in that when it comes to athletes, professional and Olympic athletes, who have received a COVID-19 diagnosis, and they're seeing lifelong cardiorespiratory and neurological issues associated with their diagnosis. And we're starting to see the beginnings of that when it comes to professional athletes. One of the examples of this is Von Miller, the Denver Broncos linebacker, and he called that experience surreal. And his first couple workouts returning were extremely difficult. And we're not talking about high-level workouts. We're talking about getting just moving around in general. Another example of this can happen in the everyday athlete. The New York Times posts an example of John Fisk, who is a urologist, but he also is an avid runner. Usually would run about 5 miles around his neighborhood easily, no problem. But following a COVID-19 coronavirus battle and treatment, where he saw his oxygen saturations dip extremely low and his temperature go very high, had a hard time even opening a bottle of iced tea, as it says in the article. He would feel like he was hiking in thin air, and he doesn't even know if he's ever going to run ever again. And you see this and you kind of ask these questions of, wow, this has really affected high level athletes who are allegedly the most fit people on the face of this planet. Are they ever going to come back and be the same? And the fact of the matter is, we don't know. We haven't been looking at them long enough to understand what's going on. And there are examples of athletes who, they receive a very mild case and they're either asymptomatic or maybe they just get a slight cough, something, and they're able to go back after testing negative twice. Sure, there are those examples that exist, but the fact of the matter is that is not the standard. That is not what everybody is showing. So until we know more, it's really hard to subscribe to the argument that engaging in exercise fights COVID-19. It's just not an argument that stands up because there is a lack of evidence. You can't say that is the truth. The very last thing I will touch on when it comes to people arguing for the reopening of gyms is that by closing them down, you are ruining the health and wellness industry and business. You have to agree with that to a certain point. Obviously, for any business, if you're not opening the doors, bringing in customers, you don't have an income, you're going to falter. And I really empathize and sympathize with that. I think that there definitely needs to be more practices put into place to save these types of businesses, especially those types of businesses that have been around for decades, staples of a community that are mom and pop owned, local. And this is branched out from a health and wellness point of view, but everybody is struggling right now, and that's terrible. That's upsetting. However, the number one priority to most businesses, the number one thing that a lot of them focus on is the health and wellness of their employees and of the community and their customers. My viewpoint and sort of my opinion on the matter was echoed perfectly by Mike Reinold. He is a very prominent physical therapist in the realm of sports medicine and owner of Champion Physical Therapy. And I subscribed to his newsletter. He sent this message out maybe over a month ago regarding reopening gyms and kind of the varying statuses between states. So I'm going to read the whole blurb. So I'm quoting here. The COVID situation continues to rattle us all. For me, Massachusetts was one of the early risers in cases in early states to lock down hard. Champion, the gym at least, has been closed for almost 4 months now, and I know many of you are in states that are starting to see cases rise as we speak. I know people in Massachusetts are getting tired of these restrictions, but I'm starting to see people on social media promote how they are bending the rules, some almost bragging. Look, I'm not an infectious disease expert, and I'm not here to debate politics or conspiracy theories, but this has really made me take a step back and think about how I run my small businesses. I actually tend to follow one simple rule: do what is best for your customers. We started outdoor training in our loading dock. Most of our clients are thrilled and loving it, but some still aren't ready to come back, and I don't blame them. In my state, we're not supposed to be training indoors yet, but I know many gyms are. Take a step back and think about what that says to your clients. What message are you sending? Sure, I bet some of your clients applauded you, but others have completely lost respect for you and your lack of empathy. I get it. We're all losing money. We're all hurting to some extent, but when you start making decisions that aren't in the best interest of your customer, you start sliding down a slippery slope. Sure, do I think our state's regulations are very restrictive and that we could safely find a way to train indoors? Yep, but that's not my decision to make. So you have a decision to make. Follow the rules or break the rules. Do you know how I decide? It's easy. What's best for the customer? Want to succeed in this world? Follow this simple rule. And that was by Mike Reinold. So looking at that, the fact of the matter is we are all antsy and eager to get back to some semblance of regular life and routine. The important thing to realize, though, is that we have to show empathy for every situation, and that is not a time-consuming process that requires an immense amount of resources. You just have to do best by other people. People are going to do what they feel is most comfortable, and that process is going to look different from person to person, and that's okay. If your clients or you are comfortable with a full return of reopening of facilities, that's your business. However, if you and your clients are still concerned about recent spikes and your ability to control the infection, that is something that you have to consider and take into place. It's your duty as a leader and fitness consumer to respect either viewpoint and do what you can to accommodate them while adhering to the laws and regulations that your state has set in place. When you go against the regulations and rules set by the state or the government or the federal government, you are actively telling your community and your consumers that you don't care about their health and well-being. Those rules and regulations are in place for a reason, and you have to follow them for the general health of the everyday person. And when you decide to go against that, or you decide to go against the rules, you're kind of telling everybody that you care more about getting people in and paying their membership dues rather than their health and wellness. And that might not be your intent. That might not be what you're thinking. And the people that do show up are going to be happy with you. But again, like I talked about earlier, that's your blinder. That's the people that you see. That's not the community as a whole. So I would really encourage those who are arguing that my business is going to go under and that's why I have to reopen. I get it. We're all struggling. It's hard for me to tell you what to do because you have a lifestyle, you have a family, you have your own bills and everything. And that's your passion. You need to find a way that accepts all viewpoints, and you need to work with your government and your overarching regulatory committee to figure out a way that addresses your concerns while not alienating the concerns of the community. So that's my responses to the three most prominent arguments I've had for seeing the gyms reopening. I miss the gym. I love it. And I'm really eager to get back under a squat bar and do that sort of work. But even though I miss it, that doesn't mean I'm missing out on my health and my wellness and my fitness. You can still do the things that you need and fight the marketing of the gyms and the corporations and get a great workout at home and be healthy at home without all this equipment. All of that equipment in the end is just a method to getting to be healthy, whereas actually being healthy and being well is a process. And processes, they don't change because your goal is the same. The method will change, your path will change, but the process stays the same. When I first decided to make a podcast, I thought I was going to have to learn all this stuff about audio editing, distribution, and any number of things that go with making a successful podcast. Fortunately, Anchor exists, and it is an extremely easy way to start out. Let me tell you a little bit about them. First and foremost, they're absolutely free. You don't even need a credit card to sign up. They have the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer anywhere in the world. After you complete the extremely easy process of making your podcast, Anchor will distribute it to Spotify, Apple, Google, and many other podcasting mediums so the entire world can hear your message. Another cool thing about Anchor is that you can make money with your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's absolutely everything that you need in a podcast in one convenient place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm, the easiest way to podcast. For the rest of this podcast, I want to focus on your different strategies and methods to still stay in line with your fitness journey and stay in line with your process, even if your gym is closed or maybe you're not comfortable getting back to the gym or you don't know how to make the most of your time away from the gym. I want to talk about some basic strategies that you can use to stay in line with your goal. The first method for going about this is the most obvious, and that's just going to be your exercise technique. And I'm talking about body weight and calisthenic exercise. So body weight and calisthenics are just things you can do with yourself without the external load that is a weight, a barbell, a dumbbell, you name it. And the reason why I think this is a good strategy to focus on, to explore this more often, is about the repeatability aspect. So while maybe in the gym you were really happy with the weights that you move around, maybe you squatted 500 pounds and that's awesome, right? I'm not arguing that. If you're able to squat 500 pounds, like, you're probably in pretty good shape or you're doing something right. While that's nice, if you can't do it repeatedly, then you're really losing what it means to be able to squat that weight. So you're losing your functional capacity. When you're talking about somebody who can squat that much, so let's look at like a lineman. Let's look at a football lineman, right? Those are some big guys. Those are some strong guys. They need to be able to move a bunch of weight. If they cannot transition what they're moving in the weight room to the field, that really doesn't matter too much, does it? Now, it's the job of the coaches and the strength strength and conditioning specialists and the sports medicine team to help kind of direct that strength and direct that power and program in such a way to where that's going to transition well onto their field or their function, right? And that's the same for anybody outside of alignment. You could be working in an office, industry. In the end, transitioning what you're doing in your session, the weight room, and your training to be applicable to your everyday activities. That's the important part of it. So that transition is where you need to focus, and body weight and calisthenics and that sort of focus is the way to do it. And if you really want to focus on still getting some weights, there's plenty of other things you can just use around the house. Cans of soup are really great lightweight things you can do for mobility exercise. If you want to pay for a gallon of milk, and you can use it in your cereal, your cooking, and then rinse it out real well, fill it back up with water, that could be some good weights for you. Or even bags. And there are some home gym things that you can purchase that are relatively cheap from a fitness equipment point of view that are good for use at home. For myself, I purchased a sandbag from Rep Fitness, and it cost me about $75, including shipping and handling. And I love that thing. I use it for a lot of different lifts, lots of different HIIT style exercises, and it's a very versatile piece of equipment. So, and that's just my experience. You don't need to purchase anything to get a great workout. And if you're kind of lost, unsure of like, how do I start a body weight program, or what exercises do I do? There are so many sources of information out there in social media. You can follow me. I post some on there at Braun ATC on Instagram. However, all you really need to do is type in Google or type in YouTube body weight exercises or calisthenic programs, and there are a bunch of free resources out there that are going to find a new routine to help you accomplish your process in your fitness goal. Now, some of you might still be saying, okay, well, that doesn't really fit in line with my goal. Like, I'm a power lifter, like I'm a power athlete, like I need to be able to lift and push these heavy things, and just body weight and calisthenics aren't doing it for me. And I hear your concern. I know it. I've struggled with it myself. I'm going to miss out on a lot of the strength and power types of stuff that come with moving large amounts of weight, which is why my second point, my second strategy when it comes to making the most of health and wellness, it comes to goal reevaluation. Now, if your function necessitates that you must lift heavy weights, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for you to try to justify and talk about. So if that's something that you feel after hearing this point, you feel like you still need, I encourage you to speak with a strength and conditioning coach or contact your personal trainer or your sports med team and figure out what exercise is going to work best for you when it comes to a individualized function point of view. However, when I get into this reevaluation point, I'm talking about focusing on different elements of fitness that are going to help your goal. So what am I talking about? So if you lose that power aspect, what other things can you focus on when it comes to your health and wellness? Well, you can focus on the mobility. You can focus on your endurance. You can focus on a little bit of strength and hypertrophy or muscle growth. You can focus on any number of these things that are going to help benefit you down the way. So let's focus on mobility for right now, and then I'll get a little bit into endurance like I did earlier about repeatability and stuff like that. You need to work on your mobility throughout any strength and conditioning program. The first step to a rehab program is pain-free full range of motion. Full range of motion is going to look a little bit different from person to person and based on function. However, you should have no impedance to your full range of motion and no pain. So say you were experiencing that during your function. It could have been painful. It could have been not painful. You could have been in the injury rehab program or anything. Right now is a perfect time to identify a mobility plan or a mobility program that's going to address your concern. And that can be specific to any athlete. So if you're a baseball pitcher, you're working on mobility within your shoulder and some core strength to help kind of get you to that point and focus on some of the forces that go across your entire body when you're throwing the ball. Maybe you are a gymnast where mobility is very important to your sports, but it's hard for you to get into the gym right now because, COVID-19, and you can't really use a lot of the equipment. You can still focus on a lot of your mobility stuff that you do within your sport to try to keep that level, to keep that solid basis. Because when you start to lose that mobility, you start to lose some of the stability and you start to introduce compensations to your movement. So right now is an excellent time to reevaluate your goals and maybe focus more on your mobility goals. Now, switching over to the endurance side of things, like I said earlier, a function is lost if you can't do it in repeatable nature. Even somebody like a baseball pitcher, while they have to toss a 5-ounce ball, you have to toss it 100 to 150 times every outing. You got to do that under maximal force. And if you can throw one baseball at over 100 miles an hour, excellent, awesome. Can you do that 100 times? Now, there's other factors in play there. However, the message is you can take this time where maybe you're out of a weight room or out of your sport or function to focus on the endurance aspect of your fitness. Switching on to the next strategy of health and wellness outside the gym, you can focus on non-exercise, so non-movement things that are going to help you with your health and wellness. This does not require a gym at all. I'm talking about nutrition and your habits. So nutrition is something that even I can be more intentful about. I could do more with my nutrition, and I think everybody could continuously evaluate what your needs are, how they change throughout this whole pandemic, and how you can best fuel yourself and find a way to meet all your goals. Nutrition is a huge part of the process, even more so than what you're doing in the gym. And so any of the progress that you're making, no matter what goal it is going to be reliant on your nutrition and your diet. So you can take the time right now to really explore what diet or what nutrition or what you're eating is working for you, or what you could cut out to help improve your fitness. In line with that, you could really work on your habits. So how are you maintaining and staying consistent with your diet and your nutrition plan? What habits do you have to ensure that you are following along with that plan? So that habit might be tracking. Maybe you have a MyFitnessPal account and you really established a habit of putting all your stuff in there and seeing how it stacks up to your calorie needs, your macro and micronutrient needs. Maybe one of your habits you need to focus on is your sleep habits, and you're trying to figure out a way to set a good sleep hygiene pattern. So what does that look like? You're going to bed at the same time, and you're waking up at the same time. You're not using this downtime, this pandemic time, to really dive into your Netflix binging, because who's not doing that? I've done the same thing too. Or really step up your Call of Duty game. And by the way, if anyone has any Call of Duty tips or tricks for me, I would love to hear them, because I am not the best at it. But anyways, finding habits that are positive and beneficial for you to help kind of maintain that health and wellness strategy that are going to help you long term when you do get back into function, or when you do kind of step back to some semblance of normalcy. And maybe your new normal program and process is going to be more body weight calisthenic out of the gym, and that's totally fine. But the habits that you're doing that are non-exercise are going to be the things that help set you up for success when the gym and that sort of community is not available. On the topic of habit formation comes continuous and consistent nature. You used to look to the gym to do your 1 hour day or an hour and a half day where you're focusing purely on your fitness and on yourself. And that's excellent, right? Now you don't really have that separation of going to the gym to really focus on that. So you have to find a different way of doing that. How can you accomplish that at home or in your community? Well, you actually have the opportunity to space that out throughout a day. Let's say you are still working. Maybe you're working from home or anything like that. You don't have to really go to the gym anymore to be healthy. You don't have to go there for somebody to tell you it's okay to work out and get sweaty. You can find things to do throughout your day that are going to accomplish the same tasks. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about something like a step goal. You can work constantly throughout the day to take the little steps necessary to hit your step goal. And then maybe if you are working from home where you sit at a desk or anything like that, you're getting up, walking around, doing some push-ups, squats, something minor throughout the day that's going to keep you moving and keep you active. Your health and wellness journey doesn't have to be centered on this hour and a half session in the gym. You can space that out throughout the day because you are spending more time at home and you do have more time to focus on yourself. So you're establishing the daily, continuous, consistent habits throughout the day rather than focusing all on one particular portion of your day. Like I've been saying earlier, the marketing of the gym has you focus on that 1 hour, that hour and a half. half, that doesn't need to be the case. You can take more time out of the day, more than just that hour and a half, to focus on the habits that are going to make you healthy and set you up for success in the long run. The very last thing that I want to say about how you can be healthy and well outside of the gym is just the overall benefit of not having to be in the gym. You can get outside and enjoy the weather and enjoy the sunshine that is beaming down on you right now as you work out. There are so many benefits to being able to work outside and being able to get out there, enjoy what you can, rather than staying inside under the bright fluorescent lights of a gym. And what I'm talking about here is just the benefits of the sun and how it's going to make you feel. So one of the first things that people think of when it comes to sun is that the sun damage and protecting yourself from sunscreen or sun damage. Wear sunscreen. Do it. Cover yourself. Something. That's great. But also stepping outside and being safe with it is a great way to soak in some vitamin D. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin that is important for immune function, general health, and overall wellness and good feeling. So getting that aspect and being sufficient in it is actually a really good indicator of overall health. So you don't have to be stuck inside all day in a gym or at home. You can step outside to focus on yourself and focus on your health and wellness. Not only is getting outside beneficial for your health, but it's a great way to make sure you can socially distance. When you're outside, you got a lot more space between you and the next person, whereas if you were in a gym, you might be one squat rack over or one piece of equipment over, and you got to worry about, okay, is my mask fitting right? Am I making sure I'm not breathing the same air as them? Outside, you don't really have to worry about that. You have the world to run around a person or the world to pick your space where you don't need to be next to somebody. So not only are you embracing the benefits of the sun, you're also ensuring you're being socially distant and responsible with your health and well-being. My overall message is this: gyms do not have to be the only place where you take control of your life and take control of your health. The message that they have painted where you need to go there has been one of mutual exclusivity. You don't need to step in there. You don't need to buy their products. You don't need to use all that stuff to be healthy. Of course, it is beneficial. They have some great tools and great messages and great people to help you out on your health and wellness journey. You can take charge of your health still and not have to worry about setting foot inside of a gym. The choice is totally up to you, but in the end, I want you all to know that your health and wellness journey doesn't have to stop when the gym stops. You can keep going and find the different exercise and habit forming strategies that are going to set you up for greatness. Thank you all again for tuning in this week, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of A Couple of Dumbbells, where we talked about our unhealthy gym addictions. Be sure to give us a like and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Review us if you have that option. It really helps us out, spread the message. If you absolutely love this podcast and want to support us moving forward, head over to our page at anchor.fm, A Couple of Dumbbells. That link will be included in the show notes, where you can click on the support tab to sign up for monthly donations that help us make this podcast even better. If you want to check out some of those body weight exercises or see some daily tips and tricks to help you opt for greatness, head over to my personal Instagram page at Braun ATC. You can also check out OPT Athletics on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's at OPT Athletics. Also visit the website, optathletics.com, where you can subscribe to the blog for in-depth health and wellness tips. Thank you all again for checking us out. Stay well and opt for greatness.